Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is Friday, the 29th day of August in the year of our Lord 2025. This is Labor Day weekend, a 3-day vacation for most of us, but the day after Labor Day is an anniversary to remember. It is the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. Where do we stand today with the inheritance that all those men gave us so many years ago? How have the Allied leaders handled the victory they were given by the blood of their ancestors? I will look at some of the things that are happening in our world today to see if the Allies have truly behaved like victors. Next Tuesday, the 2nd of September, is the 80th anniversary of the signing of the Japanese surrender documents ending World War II. The surrender was signed on the deck of the battleship USS Missouri. While it was sitting at anchor in Tokyo Bay, the Americans had the people you would expect in attendance, people such as Admiral Chester Nimitz, the commander of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, General Douglas MacArthur, commander of the Southern Pacific region, who accepted the surrender on behalf of the victorious Allied nations. General MacArthur was appointed proconsul of Japan, which made him the virtual ruler of that nation. On behalf of the occupying American forces, General MacArthur ruled with a compassionate but firm hand, and in a few short years, the nation of Japan, once a radioactive, burned-out wasteland, was a G20 economy. The Japanese were resistant at first, but with the encouragement of their emperor, they started to buy into MacArthur's program, and they rebuilt their country as a model of American capitalism. There were many other people on board the Missouri that day, people included because they were seriously wounded in the Pacific War and should be honored, but also ex-prisoners of the Japanese who survived years of harsh treatment. When I was a child, one of our neighbors was a Boy Scout leader from my scout group. He had served on the Missouri and was pretty good at crafts, so he built a scale model of the ship about 3 feet long, kept it in a separate room in his house. He had tremendous pride in his service and being present for history. There are very few of the veterans of that war still living. Soon there will be none, so every chance we get to honor them should be taken. August 14th, the last fighter ace of the war died at the age of 103. His name was Thomas McPherson, and he was the pilot of an F-6F Hellcat fighter flying off the carrier USS Essex. In case you don't know what a fighter ace is, it's someone who shoots down 5 enemy planes in aerial combat. When the war was over, Tom went back home to Nebraska and became a mail carrier, where he spent his working life. He was a Boy Scout leader, and he worked in his church, just living a quiet, peaceful life of service. Many gallant aces, many empty places, as the pilots would say. At dinner, there were many aces, none still alive from World War II. We still have aces from Korea and Vietnam, of course, although they're going away from us quickly as well. So, how the world has changed in 80 years. The U.S. dropped 2 atomic bombs, thus ending the war, but today, 9 nations are believed to have nuclear weapons with about 12,000 warheads in existence. Sometimes, when I look at it all and I see where we are today, I have to wonder, who won the war? There are so many places today where the world seems to have turned upside down. Old friends, now bitter enemies, and vice versa. China and Russia, our friends during the war, but now our enemies. Dr. Ron Paul, who just celebrated his 90th birthday a few days ago, talked about America first in one of his Liberty reports. He pointed out that the president promised us he would put America first at home and abroad. He said he would start no new wars. He would get us out of the existing ones. That promise still has a way to go before it can be fulfilled. The president apparently has been unable to resist the temptation to get involved in what he once called Joe Biden's war while he was campaigning. He faced a dilemma with trusted people offering him conflicting advice. The people who need Russia to continue as our worst enemy told him we must continue to supply every weapon, every dollar requested by Ukraine to fight the Russians. The military, intelligence, security powers that many believe make the foreign policy decisions for the U.S. wanted that view to prevail, of course. The other side said, "You were right, Mr. President. Your first thought was right. The war is easy to end, or at least for us to get out of. Just stop and come home." The president's new policy, just announced, is a compromise. The U.S. will continue to manufacture new weapons and will send $100 billion worth of them to Europe, who will then pay the American defense contractors and send the weapons on to Ukraine. Through this, quote, compromise, the defense people are happy because they reap the profits, they get what they want, but the U.S. can say, "We're stepping out of it, folks, so this is now a European war." Like the mafia used to say, it's a good deal for everybody. Everybody wins, nobody loses. And Israel and Gaza, America first, seems to have faltered as well. The U.S. is committed to billions more without addressing the issue of the slaughter, the issue of the starvation. The president has admitted publicly that he believes the starvation is real and is happening, but no recognition through policy changes. In the meantime, Israel continues to launch airstrikes across many countries in the region. Iran is bombed almost continuously, as is Yemen, including the presidential palace. Syria, Iraq, and of course Gaza, all under Israeli air assaults every day. If I take the position that those strikes are defensive in nature and are therefore necessary, I still must ask how Israel is paying for it. How are they paying for all this? Most of the countries that make up Israel's enemies list have to make choices, as Iran is painfully aware. Do you build water infrastructure, or do you support proxy terrorist groups and pursue nuclear enrichment? Those are questions and decisions that must be answered and made by most, but not by Israel. Why? Because you and I, the American taxpayers, have their back. We backstop their military, which leaves their own revenue available for other things. How is any of this America first? Well, as the president told us, folks, he invented the term, so he gets to decide what it means. Trump is concerned about all this because he reportedly remarked to one of his big donors recently that the starvation is costing him his base. Dr. Paul's advice is still the best. Just come home. Alarmingly, the U.S. is starting to get militarily involved in Latin and South America, as it has just sent 4,000 U.S. Marines to waters off the coast of Venezuela. In response, that country is mobilizing and seeking volunteers to fight the invading Yankees. I hope the war hawks and the neocons and his group of influential advisors don't convince him that America first means another stupid, costly war in this hemisphere. Across the Atlantic, things are not going well for what used to be called Western civilization. In Great Britain, only about 39% of Londoners are British. The country seems to have surrendered to the invaders. Where is Winston Churchill when you really need him? What Nazi Germany was unable to accomplish in 5 years of total war, the North African and Middle Eastern invading rape gangs have accomplished while being welcomed and celebrated by the British government. In fact, Europe is currently in crisis, perhaps one of its worst, maybe the worst since the war, apparently. Powered by some type of self-loathing, self-fear of being called Islamophobic, Europe has opened its doors to people who apparently come to seek European welfare and European children here in America. If literally thousands of young girls were being raped by gangs of Islamic invaders, I like to think we would resist, but not England. No, folks, the mother country has surrendered, turned its children over, but apparently only the working class girls. They've turned them over to the rape gangs. People are literally up in arms in the streets over this. I am appalled it's taken so long, and I ask what happened to all those men whose fathers climbed in their Spitfires and Hurricanes and went up in the sky to face the invading Nazis. What happened to them? I have been waiting for people to rise up and resist. Maybe that started, but resistance has a long way to go. Great Britain seems to be the worst in all of Europe to appease the invaders while punishing their own people for their resistance. For example, just a couple of days ago in Scotland, a couple of Scottish girls aged 12 and 14 decided they would not submit to rape as they were expected to. In Dundee, Scotland, the two girls were pursued by a gang of invading child rapists And all this is, of course, captured on video. Surveillance is everywhere these days, folks. When the rape gang cornered the two girls, the 14-year-old girl drew a knife and a hatchet. In an act of resistance, she drove them off. The Scottish police, of course, quickly arrested her and imprisoned her for her resistance. The 14-year-old girl had a knife and a hatchet, and she used that to defend her 12-year-old sister. She could be heard screaming, "Don't touch her, she's only 12." So in the old country, whose ancestors fought Vikings, they fought Romans, they fought Napoleon, and finally they defeated Nazi Germany, the current government of cowards and traitors has surrendered its working-class girls to invaders. The non-working class, of course, drive their little girls in armored limousines, and they live behind gates and guards. The police said the 14-year-old girl was reported with a bladed weapon, so they arrested her. She will be charged accordingly. On July 14, 1789, the French people decided not to submit anymore, so they stormed the Bastille to free political prisoners and gather weapons. France has never been the same, and July 14th is a national holiday. I will admit, folks, the thought of all those girls being raped by criminal invaders with no one to defend them fills me with rage. People should free that little girl by any means necessary and imprison her captors instead. Finally, folks, am I encouraging civil war in a foreign country? No, I am not, but maybe it's coming. Child rape is the bottom of the satanic pit, and permitting it is as low as it's possible for a government to go. The English people, not the limousine crowd, but the people, should defend their children by any means necessary or die trying. At least that's the way I see it. Till next time, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.